The Dead Whalers. When I reached the steps in front of Uncle Jack's house, a bright new Chevy pulled up, and Miss Honeycutt got out. She took short, mincing steps up the walkway to where I was scuttling up the front stairs to get inside and hide, but wasn't fast enough. Is your uncle home, Primrose? She asked. I shook my head. Uncle Jack rarely appeared before 6. Miss Honeycutt shoved a plate under my nose. I baked him these. On the plate, there were a dozen cookies, recipe to follow. It was hard to imagine her reptilian hands in the flour sack. For heaven's sake, Primrose, said Miss Honeycutt, staring down at me. I must have looked stunned. They are lemon sugar cookies, the kind I make for Aunt Tilly when I go back to England to visit her. She's dying of cancer. In fact, I must get back rather soon and tend to her, and I should like to see a friend in Denver who is also, I fear, dying. It's been rather a long time since I've seen either of them, and one wants to see one's friends before they die, and Aunt Tilly likes it if I come and bake for her. I often make her these lemon sugar cookies, since they are very like ones my uncle ate when he had tea with the Queen at one of her garden parties, which, as you know, they have at Buckingham Palace every year for quite a lot of people. Miss Honeycutt kept me on the steps for 10 minutes, telling me a long anecdote about the Buckingham Palace tea, and giving me her Aunt Tilly's favorite lemon sugar cookie recipe, her Aunt Albert's favorite lemon sugar cookie recipe, her favorite lemon sugar cookie recipe, and an odd recipe for chocolate mousse. I was interested, but Miss Honeycutt talked so quickly in such detail about so many people I didn't know that it got confusing and my mind wandered. Suddenly, Miss Honeycutt barked. I said, "Isn't that a splendid thing for a dying person to say?" "Oh, yes," I said, and then to divert attention from my inattention, "What do you do at someone's dying bedside?" "Read to them, of course," said Miss Honeycutt. I'm sure she thought Canadians, and especially Canadian children, were a bunch of heathens with no idea how to act at the bedside of dying people. And she might have been right, because I kept thinking that if I'd been lying around for a while dying, I'd probably already done a lot of reading myself and wouldn't be so terribly grateful for someone coming in and doing more. I wondered why Miss Honeycutt had so many dying friends. Whether she had so many friends that naturally some of them would be dying, or if she liked terminally ill people and looked for them. Just then, Uncle Jack pulled up. He got out of his car with his big, bouncing, cat-like step that I found so reassuring, especially when I was cowering between the front door and my guidance counselor, unable to say thank you. Now go away. He was dressed in a suit, starched shirt, and tie. I could smell from the top of the steps. I could smell him from the top of the steps. He wore a lot of aftershave when he worked and used a lot of breath freshener. It didn't make him smell good exactly, more as if he was trying hard. He bounded up to us, and when Miss Honeycutt, who was taking in the crisp shirt and the suit in an approving way, handed him the plate of lemon cookies, he gave her a huge smile that was wall-to-wall teeth from beneath his blonde mustache. The smile was both a warm and gracious welcome and a polite dismissal. Miss Honeycutt launched into her tea at Buckingham Palace anecdote, and the grin never left Uncle Jack's face for one moment. When she finished, there was silence for 30 seconds or so. Then Miss Honeycutt snapped it off crisply by saying through her teeth, "I hope that everything is running smoothly since the adjustment." "The adjustment?" repeated Uncle Jack, big smile even as he walked purposefully with her to her car. Huge smile as he opened the door for her, bigger one as she got in. I mean, since Primrose moved in with you, I'm her guidance counselor, you know, and said Miss Honeycutt, looking pinkly uncomfortable. She had a peculiar skin condition that would erupt whenever she was ill at ease. I was always surprised to see that Miss Honeycutt could be uncomfortable when it was clear she thought she was so much better than us. Oh, I know, said Uncle Jack. Things are going just great. Nice of you to stop by. Always happy to hear from you. Bye bye now. He guided me, who was huddling by him, back up the steps and turned to wave to Miss Honeycutt from the top. Thank you for the cookies, he called. Another big smile, all teeth. Hotly wave. Then we were in the house. It was safe in the house with Uncle Jack. He was so vibrant that it was like standing next to a fire. All through dinner, I gazed at the red veins in his nose. I tried not to stare, but they kept popping in and out. Someone called you a developer today, I said finally. Uncle Jack looked up from his dinner. He had made 4 turkey dinners, 1 for me and 3 for himself. That's what I am. Well, they didn't say it in a very nice way, I said. That's because not everyone wants to see Coal Harbor developed, said Uncle Jack. But look at it this way, Primrose. What have you got here in Coal Harbor? Now that the Navy's gone, you have fishing and whaling. There aren't enough fishermen to support a whole town, and there won't be whaling much longer, even if the folks here want to turn a blind eye to that. Already there is legislation to try to stop it because whales are becoming endangered. All these people in town who are tied to whaling are going to be out of work, and the support services and the people who earn their living by providing things to everyone in the whaling industry, stores, dentists, teachers, and such, will lose business too, because nobody will have any money to buy anything, and the whalers will have to pack up and go elsewhere. Without them, there isn't enough here to keep the town alive. I thought of those people leaving and going elsewhere, maybe going to the exotic places where Miss Honeycutt went, maybe having exciting, important things happen to them that wouldn't happen to them in such an out-of-the-way place as Coal Harbor. Uncle Jack went on. They're going to have to replace whaling with something else, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm bringing in tourism. I'm doing them a big favor. They're just too pig-headed to admit it. Coal Harbor is a fantastic place. It is? I asked. I had never heard anyone say that about Coal Harbor before. Sure, it's got mountains, it's got ocean, and when we are done developing it, it will have a great waterfront area. We'll buy up the downtown and replace those tatty stores and got that god awful restaurant with the places that cater to tourists, and the money will roll in. I like the girl on the red swing, I said, but I wouldn't go to Coral Harbor if I were a tourist. I would go to England or Paris or something. That's because you are from Coal Harbor, Primrose. If you were from England or Paris, you would probably think Coal Harbor was pretty exotic. Oh, I said. I had never thought of it that way. Uncle Jack always looked completely calm and unflappable, but his eyes were fizzing like he was a Coke can someone had shaken up. Uncle Jack spent the next hour telling me stories about how before he went into the Navy, he did some developing in the Coast Mountains. I found a small town in the Coast Mountains, close enough to Vancouver to be a vacation destination. That's what I figured was going to happen. All these small towns were going to become summer places for Vancouverites as the city grew. There was a building going cheap in the middle of town, and I had just enough money for the down payment. My idea, as I explained it to the businessmen who were ready to laugh me out of town, was to sell it to some big company. You aren't ever going to get anyone to buy that heap, they said, and especially not some big company. I was lunching every day at the cattle club where all the local big wigs ate, even though I couldn't afford it, and they laughed at me for that too. Boy, they said, you aren't ever going to do this deal. You better go back to where you came from and take up fishing or something else. Something else so you know how to do. How did you know someone would want to buy it? I asked. I didn't know. That's what made it so interesting. I was pumped. I was going crazy, putting out feelers here and putting out feelers there. The mortgage payments were horrific. I would wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding, covered in hives from nervousness. That sounds awful, I said. That was the fun part, said Uncle Jack, his eyes sparkling. I'd sleep 3 hours a night and leap out of bed and back into action. Well, one day, just as I'm on the brink of foreclosure, my guts are churning. I'm juggling all my other deals to see if I can get the next payment together. Two men came to see me. They had an offer for me. They said, but they couldn't disclose who they were, who they represented. I didn't know you could do that, I said. Of course you can, shouted Uncle Jack, but I knew he wasn't shouting at me. He was just back there reliving it all. I knew if they wouldn't say who they were representing, I had a big fish on my line. The question was, which fish? Which fish? I could barely stand the excitement, but I had to appear cool. So, what did you do? I asked. I jacked up my price. I jacked it up so high, even I suspected I was a crazy person. I'm going to end up losing this deal, I thought. Sure enough, they went away and I didn't hear from them. Oh no! For a week. When they finally called, I wondered if I would have to back down some to hook them. They started off by saying that the powers that be had looked at it and might be interested. So did you back down? No, I said to myself. I may never be this close again, but if I'm going to do this deal, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to take it as far as I think I can. So I gambled everything and said I was jerking my price up even further. So I gambled everything and said I was jacking my price up even further for making me wait. And that very day I sold that building to McDonald's. I was only 63 and I had made my fortune. Wow, I said, but I couldn't keep my eyes from wandering around the tiny base house with its junk store furniture. Uncle Jack, who was sitting back with his legs stretched out in front of him, his hands clasped behind his head, and a dreamy smile on his face, must have noticed because he said, Of course, next year I lost it all again in townhouses in Vanier, Alberta. I'd been right about that little town in the coast mountains, big ski resort now, but I was sure wrong about Vanier. You lost all of it? I said. And then some. How horrific, how horrible, I said. Your fortune had been made. It was only money, Primrose, he said, still glowing. Well, I gotta go try to sell the cinnamon house. He stretched and put on his jacket. Before that evening, I'd thought business I'd thought business the dullest thing you could go into, and the only people who went into it did so because they were so dull and unimaginative themselves. I never thought it was something that could make someone's eyes sparkle. What's the cinnamon house? I asked, following Uncle Jack to the door and wishing he wouldn't go. I didn't like being alone in this new house. I'm running late. I'll tell you another time. Don't forget to lock up. He bounded down the steps, swinging his briefcase. I did the dishes and then went into my bedroom to do my homework. There wasn't much to military housing. Uncle Jack's had a small living room and a kitchen and a bedroom, which was his, and an even tinier room in which he had to put a cot and dresser for me. I got into bed and started reading, but I kept hearing noises coming from the gym. Swish, 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 thug. Swish, 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 thug. The door from the kitchen that connected to the gym didn't have a lock. The more I thought about it, the more I thought that those noises could only be one thing, the ghost from dead whalers playing hockey. I pulled the covers to my chin and shivered. Finally, I got up and pushed the dresser in front of my bedroom door in case they were the kind of ghosts who used doorknobs. I did my homework and then lay awake listening to the spirits. They disappeared when Uncle Jack came back. I heard him go into the gym. He liked to do his workout and shoot baskets at the end of the day. It was hard to sleep with the echo of the dribble, 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 slam, dunk. As I lay sleeplessly, I thought of my parents sitting on some island. I hoped they weren't too cold. I hoped they were getting enough to eat.